Hey guys, my name is Alex Barham, and this guide series is on the Black River in Watertown, New York. This river is how I picked where I was going to go to college, a huge part of why I live where I live now. It is an absolutely incredible section that drains a huge portion of the Western Adirondacks. It almost always has enough water to run. It always has enough water to do something. Unlike other guide series where I'm going to cover just a specific section, I'm going to throw a lot at you and give you a sense of why this section is so special. This doesn't encompass everything. There are things like Bovine Falls that I'm going to leave out, but let's start way upstream, up in the town of Black River, at what we call Legion Wave. This wave forms right above the bridge there. It comes in at the levels where Hole Brothers gets a little too high and gets a little junky, so like 45, 4,300 and up. So if you ever show up to Hole Brothers and it's too high to really be good, take a 15-minute drive up to Black River and stick your head over the bridge, see if Legion's in. Super easy to find. Just go to the American Legion in town and it's right there in front of them. Eddy service, all that good stuff, and it gives up some pretty good tricks. The next little bonus before you even really get to this section of river is Great Falls. Located just below the Mill Street Dam. You want to make sure you go when there is low water. At even medium flows, the eddy walls and everything makes this an extremely dangerous feature. But at low water, where there's just enough to boof or pencil, it's a super clean, beautiful 20-something footer that has an amazing cave behind the falls. Extremely worth doing if you're up there in the summer and just kind of looking for a way to spice up the run before you even get to the run. Now we're starting to get to the actual run. Before the section that's listed on American Whitewater, there are actually two rapids. If you ask nicely at the guys at Adirondack Rafting Outfitters, or ARO, might let you put on behind their shop, and you get to run two bonus rapids. They are the Clubhouse Turn, which is just a lot of compressing the water against the left wall as it goes down and then makes a 90-degree right turn. Super cool to jump the eddy fence, get sucked back into the rapid. This could be an awesome squirt spot if you had the guts to hit that seam. It definitely will stand your stern up if you bring a half slice down. That feeds pretty much directly into the wall. So all of the current goes from the left side all the way to the right side, and it goes scraping against a cliff wall on the right side. You want to make sure that you don't get in there and actually touch the wall. Back in the day, a couple guides popped multiple rafts on the same trip. It is super sharp. There are, however, a bunch of really good surf waves. So sometimes just taking a walk in the park that is along shore right there, you can find some good play that maybe wouldn't have found otherwise. So now we're at the main feature, one of the most popular places on the run, which is Hole Brothers. This is named not for the holes on the River Wide Ledge, but for the original group of boaters that used to hang out there, who all were a really tight brotherhood. And that network kind of still lasts today, although it's certainly past its heyday. The center hole in Hole Brothers is by far the one that is most popular. It is going to be in from about 1100 all the way up into about 45. And it starts off at lower water as a really, really good ICF style looping cartwheel hole. As it gets higher, it turns into sort of a wave hole. And then eventually it gets big enough to do air blunts, back stabs, and even to stick air screws if you have your technique dialed in. Usually this is a dual feature, so the surfer's left side will be a wider wave and the surfer's right side will be sort of like a hot pocket whole wave kind of thing. Super cool to have two features accessible from the same eddy. One of the crazy things about the Black, because it is draining such a huge area, is in the middle of the summer, like for example right now, the gauge is reading 800 CFS at the bridge below this feature. During the spring, it can read as high as 46, maybe 50,000 CFS on a big year, and it has been ridden all the way up to there. If I can find it, I'll drop a link to a clip of Dane absolutely shredding it at insane high water. As the levels come up, the surfer's right side hole comes in. That's called Little Brother. Usually it's pretty so-so. If you have like a surf boat or something long, it's really good for green wave carving, but not super retentive. The extreme surfer left side, on the other hand, is called Big Brother. When it's too low, it'll be incredibly obvious. This will be a huge tumbling, jumbling, nasty hole. But when it gets high enough to green out, it is a great feature, and it can even be a surf boat green wave at 33, 35,000 CFS and above. Other than that, I'm not going to give you 1,000 little variations of what levels are like at Hole Brothers. Please don't message me and ask. Just go. It's always in. Floating downstream, you have a long ways to go, basically until you hit the Interstate 81 bridge. This is the entrance to Knife's Edge. Knife's Edge has a main line on the left, which is known as True Path, where you're going to skate down the left side through the first two shelves, cut to center, and then at the very end, you're going to hook hard left around this hole that's called the heater, which makes a left to right diagonal. Sneaking just over it or just behind it, you're going to go racing to the corner of this shelf and escape before you get tumbled into Mary's Hole. The entire rapid is feeding into this enormous hole that you never ever want to go into. So the other line is called B-skate. So instead of going left of the hole, we're going to work ourselves right of the hole. We're either going to do that from that same left entrance if the water is somewhat low, or we're going to start from dead center. And this goes from when the river is kind of like 4,000, 3,500 maybe, all the way up until it's super, super high. So put yourself right in the middle where it's sort of uncomfortable. There are going to be enormous green rolling waves. Look for the tongues. And then once everything opens up after the first two shelves, go screaming to the corner of the old factory down at Mary's Hole and cut over as right as you can without getting into the eddy that's in the corner of the factory.
Oh, B-skate, baby. Oh, you beautiful little beast.
Knife's Edge is by far the biggest rapid on the river, and from here, everything will sort of be more manageable. Knife's Edge is going to feed straight into a wave train, which is called Intercity Strife. Now, today, ICS really isn't a big deal, but back in the day, one particular photo that's still on AW is basically the whole reason why my life came to Syracuse. Intercity Strife used to come in at about 7,500 CFS to 18,500, and it would come in basically 6 or 7 times a year. It was an amazing big wave with perfect eddy access, and unfortunately, the flood of 2011 has basically kicked it out. The river now is slowly starting to recover in a lot of places where things changed. So hopefully we'll see Intercity again, But yeah, I think any local will tell you that it was heartbreaking losing that wave. Right below Inner City Strife, you get to the Glen Park Hydro Dam. Now, for many people, this is going to be a portage, and there's going to be a super obvious point on the river right side where the rafters take out and walk around. Follow the tree line between some really big rocks and pop back in, you're good to go. On the left, you'll find where the kayakers pop over to run the falls. The line is super weird, and sometimes you'll get there before the release even starts. Don't freak out. If you know the release is coming because there are rafters behind you, you just got there a little too soon. Give it a few minutes and the water will come up. Slide in from the very corner of the dam and immediately get to the base of the dam and start working your way out to the center. There's a shelf out there which is quite pronounced that you're going to drop over and then start your move. The traditional line is to go all the way left, following a little green curler, and drop over to the left of the huge hole that's in that first shelf on your way down Glen Park Falls. You're then going to cut immediately hard right and get 3/4 of the way right on the horizon line before you boof off. The alternate line is starting from that same place below the dam, stay all the way right, and there's a very pronounced corner in that first shelf. You're going to drop off as far right over by that corner as you can, missing the hole, and then bypassing that whole zigzag move. Go off on the same place at the bottom. The only real variations from that are some people prefer to run the drop all the way on the left at the bottom. This puts you into sort of a sketchy eddy above an undercut wall. So have a look at it before you do that and make sure you can make the ferry back out of there. So if you haven't figured it out yet, the Black River releases start here, not at Hole Brothers. Hole Brothers runs 24/7. The rapid immediately following Glen Park is called Three Rocks. This is typically where the rafts are going to be getting back in. Very straightforward. There's a horizon line ahead of you. Go off just right of center, get a good boof stroke, and ride it out as it goes around. You have now dropped into the Black River Gorge. Everything now is going to be much tighter. The waves are going to be a little more taller, a little more powerful, and you're going to have to be pretty conscious of not hitting walls because most of them are sharp and or undercut. That said, it is super fun, super playful. Love it here. So the first rapid now that you're in here is Zig and Zag. Zig starts all the way on the right, super straightforward, just hit the biggest waves and holes that you see, smash everything, and get down to the pool below. Zag is best identified because there's enormous rock, most of the way on the left shore, called Panic Rock. Panic Rock is so named because the left side is pretty undercut, tends to pick up trees every couple of years. It is runnable at low water, but it is pretty sketchy going in there sometimes. So for most people, you are going to run just to the right of Panic Rock, right where all the big waves are. As you're passing Panic Rock, you are going to turn all the way left and charge into the eddy behind it. The idea here is to avoid getting pushed up against the right side wall. Little ways down, you will see a river-wide horizon line, and this is Cruncher. Cruncher used to be epic before the same 2011 flood. It was a hole at the bottom of this rapid that was very well known for flipping rafts, tacoing rafts, ripping kayakers' shoulders apart, but it has since completely mellowed out. The hole is filled in with rock, and now this rapid is really not a big deal. Just ride the dragon's tongue in the center, pointing out to the right, and keep charging out to the right as you bank this left-hand turn on the outside. The hole is starting to come back a little bit, so you do want to avoid it, but it's definitely not a big deal anymore. Immediately below Cruncher, you will see a river-wide horizon line. This is a old Lowhead Dam, which is known on the left side as Rocket Ride and on the right side as Poop Chute. Rocket Ride is the original dam as it's sort of just eroding away. At most levels, you just ride straight down the left side, about 15-20 feet off the left shore, and plop through the hole at the bottom, no problem. The right side is where the dam was breached with dynamite, and what you do is run poop chute. Go all the way into the eddy on the far side and ride the seam line coming off the bottom of the eddy all the way to the bottom, popping off before you hit the rock at the very bottom, out the bottom of the hole. It is a great feature. It changes a lot with different water levels. It's extremely easy at low levels, gets pretty meaty at higher levels, and it's just usually a really good time. I'm not really going to focus too much on Rocket Ride because anyone can scout it and figure it out, but Poop Chute, worth it. Directly below Poop Chute, there is an enormous eddy where you see the face of the dam. This is where all the water from the hydro project rejoins the flow. Now, usually if you're just passing through, nothing will really change here, but if you're at the tail end of the release or hang out and wait for the tail end of the release, you can actually get double water as the turbines spool on for their first few minutes and catch the tsunami flood racing through the last few rapids. So something to keep in mind if you're there at the end of the day. Here, the canyon walls get even narrower as we enter Square Rock. Square Rock is named for a feature on the entrance of this rapid. There is a tombstone-like rock all the way on the right side that makes a really strong eddy line, and at high water, a really, really big hole. So enter on the left, cut right behind either the rocks or the hole, whatever's there, and then ride out the rest of the wave train in the center. This can be either pretty low key at low water or at high water. It is super fun, and you can simulate that again by catching the tsunami at the end of the release. Last rapid of the day is called Shaving a Haircut. This rapid is best known because you enter on the left, and at certain levels, a ton of the flow is shooting you into this enormous undercut on the left side. At low summer waters, it's completely out of play, but at spring flows, it can be right at head height for the raft guides. So, start on the left, come down, look for an enormous right to left curler, punch it, really good spot to throw a kickflip, and cruise out the rest. Most notably about Shaving a Haircut, it produces some amazing play. So, especially at lower levels, this is a spot where if you're not really satisfied with what's at Hole Brothers, cruise down, see what's going on at Shaving a Haircut. This year, some rocks moved and it got way, way better. The upper feature is now sort of like a mini garburator, and the second feature has turned into a extremely good cartwheel and loophole. So even in the depths of the summer, when Hole Brothers is starting to get a little shallow, you've got a whole different play park down there. All right, well, I hope you check out the Black. It is amazing to me how many people drive past it on the way to the Ottawa and don't even stop or check it out. There is a really good restaurant right at Hole Brothers, so if you've got family members who don't paddle, or you want to paddle and then do dinner and catch a hotel, all of that is an option. You got a crowd up there watching you. It's just a special place. For many people, it'll be the most urban boating they've ever done, which is also pretty cool. And I really hope you enjoy it. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Please support my sponsors, and I will catch you on the next one.